Hey there. You have found the Highs and Low podcast, and I'm your host, Lauren Estrada. I have a passion for my hometown of Kansas City, so this show is all about giving those local businesses and entrepreneurs an additional platform to share their vision, their why, and of course, their highs and lows. Join us every Wednesday for new episodes. What's up, KC? I have Diana with me today. Say hi, Diana.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Diana is from Condor's Cove, and we're going to talk all about your business. I'm so excited. Except first, we're going to warm up a little bit because obviously we need to. So I've got some random questions here from Table Topics Conversation Starters.
Awesome.
Let's get the juices flowing. Ooh, who's the best teacher you've ever had?
Oh, wow. The best teacher. I don't know. Maybe my ESL teacher, since she taught me how to speak English. She did a good job.
Clearly speaking English now.
Speaking English. Her name was Miss Innes. And I guess if it comes with bartending, probably like Brian Means. I worked for him at Kona Street Market in San Francisco. He was like one of the best mentors I had, I would say, when it came to detail and organization. But yeah, I would say my childhood, Miss Ennis. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then, Brian Means.
Oh, congrats. She's speaking such good English, guys.
Yeah, I did it. I graduated.
Ooh, okay. I feel like this works. If it were necessary to add 2 countries to the United States, which would you pick?
Oh, wow. 2 countries. Well.
Like they still keep all of their own entity, but they're just now part of the United States.
Damn, that's a good one. I mean, I would love to have my family closer, so Bolivia.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm Bolivian. And then I really love Cuba. I've been to Cuba and I love it. Mm-hmm. So maybe Bolivia and Cuba. I don't know.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. How do you feel? Do you feel warmed up?
I feel good, yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah, so obviously, as as I said, so Diana and I go all the way back to Hopcat, Tiki Cat days. Yeah. And that is how I've known her. And obviously, Tiki Cat comes into play because your pop-up business, Condor's Cove, is a tiki pop-up bar. Tell us a little bit about it. Give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah, so basically Condor's Cove started during the pandemic when Tiki Cat closed in 2020 after, the whole COVID outbreak happened. Everybody in the service industry was let go. And unfortunately at the time, none of us had a timeline on when Tiki Cat was going to reopen. And finally, when they let us know that it was officially not going to happen, I took the initiative to kind of have a farewell pop-up with the Tiki Cat crew originally. So at the time I was working at Mean Meal. So they allowed us to come in and do a little, goodbye pop-up. And it was super cute. It was very meaningful because a lot of our regulars asked us, where can they go to support us or how can they support us? So we got the whole crew together one last time, and I think that's where it sparked, where Condor's Cove came from. And a lot of people were like, you should do this again, and I was like, maybe I should. But obviously, I can't get the whole crew together every time. But that's how it started, doing pop-ups around the city. All the regulars from Tiki Cat were really trying to support all of us the best way they could. And then I started guest bartending around Kansas City as Tiki D, because I had a name at Tiki Cat at the time. Everybody had a nickname. Yeah. And I didn't want a nickname really bad, but it was a thing down there, and they made it a thing. So everybody had nicknames like Puka Pumba. I don't know.
Oh yes, I forgot.
Ivan Katiki.
Yeah.
J.Y. Kikiliko. And then I was the last person to get a nickname. I remember my manager at the time was like, you need a nickname. Everybody has one. I was like, I don't want one. It's so weird. But eventually one of the regulars was like, just be Tiki D. simple, short, cute.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's not, all over the top. And so Tiki D became a thing. And Tiki D from Tiki Cat is doing like a guest bartending shift, Westport Cafe or Depressed Penny or Dodson's. And so that's kind of how it started. I started as a guest bartender as Tiki D, and eventually I started I guess you would call it like, I don't know what you call it, like the marketing or like creating the concept of Condor's Cove, because I didn't want to brand myself. I wanted to brand like an experience, and maybe eventually it becomes a bar or whatever it is.
Yeah. So at that point, that's when you started coming up. We're like, I want to do this. It wasn't just like, I miss Tiki Cat. You're like, I want to do this as like a separate.
Yeah, because at the time when I was guest bartending, I was also doing it for survival. Like, I didn't have a full-time job. Like, it was still very limited to going to restaurants.
Yeah.
Nobody was hiring at the time either.
Yep. This was still late 2020,
this is
right?
like late 2020.
Yeah.
Because Condor's Cove, I launched Condor's early January of 2021.
Oh my gosh, it's been that long?
Yeah. I know, right?
It doesn't, like, it flew by.
So I launched that, like, I remember, like, the day after that whole thing happened at the, in Washington. I forgot the
Oh,
name.
January 6th, yeah.
January 6th, January 7th.
That's like an awful way to have to remember.
I know, horrible way, but I remember, like, being on my, like, on the computer, like, getting my, like, business ideas and everything, like, in bed, and I'm just, like, watching TV, and that happened.
That's
and I was
crazy.
like, that's weird, that's crazy. And I'm still working on Condor's Cove,
Oh,
like,
well.
for hours, and then I launched Condor's the next day, and that was January 7th.
Hey.
I guess.
If you remember it, great.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, Condor's Cove, yeah, so that happened on January 7th, but before that I was just guest bartending all over the city, just because, survival and just like, it was a way to get my name out there. It worked out really well for a lot of bars and restaurants too, because like we were doing reservations only, and at the time it was very strict on how many people could be inside. And we were like selling out while the pandemic was happening. And I think that's where the momentum that I was like, wow, like this is crazy. People are coming out for
We
this.
could still do this. This isn't like
This
fighting.
this is not, forever. So, I started Condors, and it was a way to like brand something that is not just like about me. It was like a concept, something that I wanted to talk about. And Condors was about culture, and my culture is part of that. So with so much of Tiki is, Polynesian culture inspired. And I didn't really want to take a culture that's not mine.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to really focus on what I know and where I come from and the cultures that I grew up in, which is Bolivian, and my dad's Honduran. So taking like ingredients and spirits and names and inspirations behind the cocktails that we create, with the stories of like my childhood, or just like in general, like Latino ingredients.
Yeah.
That was like my take on Tiki, and that's where Condor's Cove came in as a tropical Tiki inspired pop up.
Gotcha. So not completely Polynesian, more pulling from your roots.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because we don't really we don't showcase our decor is not like you won't find tikis or Hawaiian woman or any of that. Not saying that like I don't like it, I just don't like the problematic parts of Tiki that so much of some classic Tiki bars have stemmed from.
Yes. That was actually one of my questions for you. We can get into that later.
Yeah. But besides that, Condor's Cove, the name itself was inspired by also the Condor of Bolivia.
Okay.
Bolivia, like, is known for praising the condor because, like, my indigenous ancestors, my last name is Condori. It's not Condor, but it's Condori. So a lot of people think I named Condor's Cove because of my name. I was like, no,
it's close.
But it's close. But
Yeah.
yeah, because like my indigenous ancestors, like where they came from, their village was named Condori, but it was based on the condor.
And which, for people that don't know that, it is a bird, correct?
Yeah, it is a bird.
Okay.
It is a bird, a very, very big bird.
Kind of like similar to, like, not as big as an albatross or anything like that, right? But they're supposed to be very, very large.
Yeah, it's like bigger than an eagle.
Okay, so yeah. Huge.
It's like, I think it's like 7 foot.
Oh,
yeah, it's big. Like
that's
7
terrifying.
Foot, like 7 foot and like maybe 6 feet.
I need you all to know that Diana is the same size as me. So I don't know if this is her trying to be like, what's up?
It's a big bird. Like, it could eat you. Yeah. I mean, it could attack you.
Diana's like, listen, I may be 5 foot whatever, but like, I'm like as cool as a condor.
Wait, yeah, you see, that's huge. Yeah.
I'm terrified.
It's big.
But also, like, that's super intimidating, and I love that for you.
Yeah, so the condor is like a very like majestic animal in our culture, and it's like it represents Bolivia. It's actually in our flag.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
in the flag of Bolivia, it's in the middle, and there's a huge condor flying. So I wanted the name to represent me and where I come from, and I was like, Condor's Cove is a badass name.
Yes.
I was like, oh fuck yeah! And at the time, I also like, I really enjoyed Smuggler's Cove, and so also the inspiration behind the Cove part was Cove. Like I really like that, like, but more like a dark, you know, take on a concept, not just so like colorful and tiki. But I was like, Condor's Cove is like, ooh, that sounds good.
You're like almost like pirate and like spooky.
Yeah.
But also fun.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. But also like tropical and fun and Latino. But yeah. So that's the name behind it, Condor's Cove, you know. It was just part of my culture, and
I love that.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously that all started 2020, 2021 at one point, and you did do some studying in San Francisco, which is closer to the home of Tiki.
Yes.
How, because I'm trying to remember how long the place that you were working at, how long have they been open?
Last Rites, they've been open since, I think, 2017.
Okay, for some reason I thought they had been like around a long time, but they are one of the more famous. And they're obviously a lot of training went into what you worked there. So if you want to talk a little bit about your time there.
At the time when I was still working on Condors, so 2021, like, you know, I was full-time working on Condor's Cove and also working at Tiki in the Iron District. I wanted to, you know, keep learning about Tiki, and I really liked, you know, just tropical cocktails, and I felt like I didn't get the like enough mentorship at the time at Tiki Cat that when I was there to like, you know, really learn about like the logistics behind owning a bar or running a bar, and I think that's really important. I just like became a bar manager. I was just thrown into, you know, this entrepreneurship. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
My English, you see, Miss
It's her
Inez?
second language. Give her a break.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's a hard word.
Yeah, entrepreneur, whatever. But, you know, after starting Condor's Cove, like, I didn't have any guidance. I think people, you know, I was winging it. And I felt like I still needed some time to learn from other people. And I got a call from Doc Parks, who was the bar manager at Zombie Village in San Francisco. You know, he was like, hey, like, if you ever want to move to San Francisco, you can work for me. I'll help you, and, you know, and I'll mentor you. And, you know, I like what you're doing in Kansas City, and you obviously have a passion for this niche market. And if you're ever interested in moving, the doors are open.
Wow.
So I had a job opportunity going into San Francisco, and I feel like that was a sign to like, I was craving the mentorship, and I wasn't getting it quite in Kansas City at the time. So I took the leap of faith, and I said, well, I can still do pop-ups and come back home and do them every quite often, you know, and people really, really still support me till this day.
Yeah.
But I took the leap of faith to keep learning, and I went to San Francisco, went to Zombie Village, and I worked there for, I believe, like the first month that I moved to San Francisco. And the guy who, Doc Parks at the time, who offered me the job, he left the company the minute I arrived. But the position for me was still there.
That's awesome.
So that was awesome. So I moved to San Francisco with a job. But he left, so they had like this weird shift in like management, so they weren't quite, you know, ready for whatever was happening. You know, restaurants.
Restaurants.
It happens at bars. Like if you know, like management and all that
If
stuff.
you don't, be glad you don't.
Yeah, like, so they were going through a transition at the time, and I personally was like, I don't think this is a fit for me. Nothing personal. I love Zombie Village, but at the time I was like, yeah, this is probably not the right fit for me. And I saved enough money to survive 2 months. So I was like, if I don't make it, I'll go back to Casey.
Yeah.
But I saw an ad for Last Rites that they were hiring, and it was like 4 weeks after I was already in San Francisco, and I went in to the bar. I sent him a DM, an email. I went to the bar again, and I was like, hey, like I sent you guys a DM and an email, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah. And eventually,
Oh yeah, she's desperate for a job.
yeah, they were like, this kid keeps bothering us. And my friend now, like my best friend Steph at the time, like they were bartending the first night that I went to Last Rites. And I was like, could you please like let them know that I sent them my resume? Yeah. And like, they were like, yeah, of course. Yeah. So like next thing you know, I got a call back, and I got an interview and had a stage, and they were like, you know what you're doing. Let's start you out. And next thing you know, I'm there for the whole time I'm in San Francisco. So I worked at Last Rites, but yeah, for over 2 years, and then I came back.
And in between there, you were coming back to visit, doing pop-ups with Condor's Cove anytime you came back, if you had the time, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I was coming back maybe like every 3 to 4 months, just trying to keep the name alive, because Condors is so special, and I feel like the people that support us, they know my story, and it's not just about like the cocktails and the pop-ups. It's like the journey that I've been in as a bartender, and I think that's really special. I think that's why people really do follow the bird, as what I sell it. They follow the condor. But I think it's like the journey and of the adventure. A lot of people who have been with me till this day were regulars at Tiki Cat, and they still follow and go to Condors. I've had people go to San Francisco to Last Rites and be like, Diana, like,
oh, that's
Condors.
crazy.
Like, I came to see her, and my coworkers at Last Rites were like, there were some Kansas City people here asking for you last night. And I was like,
gosh.
what? They're like, yeah, like they mentioned your Condor's Cove and all of that, and they're so proud of you. And
Oh.
I was like, that's so cool. So
Did you do any pop-ups with Condor's Cove while you were still in San Francisco?
I did do a pop-up, like at this like house party one time.
Oh, that's so fun.
For Halloween, which is coming up.
Hey, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it was in San Francisco. It was like some weird house party. It was super cool though.
So technically, Condor's Cove has flown from Kansas City to San Francisco.
And I also did do a pop-up at Last Rites.
Nice.
This year, actually.
Yeah, that was just a little bit ago.
Yeah, they reached out and they were like, yo, I heard you're coming in town, because I go to San Francisco all the time. I go back as much as I can. Yeah, and they, I love that bar. It's like my second home. So I went this year and we did a pop-up. It was cute.
It was cute.
It was cute, yeah.
Which all of our pop-ups are cute. So, like, obviously. But yeah, so we do want to give a shout out really quick. We are at Blue Palm right now. This is where we're recording, because this is where your next pop-up's going to be. Yeah. Tell us about what all we got going on.
So October 31st, we're doing a pop-up here with Hellfire Tiki, in collaboration with Blue Palm. I think it's been a collab that we've been trying to do for quite some time, but it's never worked out, and I've always wanted to work with Roxy.
Which, side note, Roxy will be on the podcast 2 episodes from now, because you guys are all hearing this on October 30th. Yeah. It is not October 30th while we were recording this. But yeah, she will be on November 13th, so make sure to listen to that.
Yeah, so Roxy is been also like a big part of like the tropical tiki community in Kansas City, but they have a different aesthetic from us. They're like more like dark, grungy, like
gothic vibes, yeah,
which I love.
Perfect for Halloween.
Exactly. So it was like the perfect collaboration. We've been always talking about doing a collab together, but I was living in San Francisco at the time. Never worked out, and now it's finally that I moved back home, and it's like it's time. And we got together, and now we're making this happen. It's sponsored by Plantere.
Ooh, sponsorship.
Thank you, Adrian. I love you.
So we do know, like, when you guys are hearing this, and it already is, it's sold out because these ladies are killing it. So the event is technically sold out. However, will there be possibility of people who do not have tickets to still come?
We are working with the weather forecast, but they haven't answered our phone call.
Heard. Makes sense. I mean, it is the Midwest, so it could be 80 degrees.
So we're still on the line with them. But depending on the weather, we might have the outside seating available.
Okay.
But as of right now, we don't want to
Makes sense. Yeah. So sadly, you will not be able to just walk up and come in. However, if it is nice, make sure to stay tuned to their socials because they will be announcing if there's any outdoor seating. And that almost like doubles your space right there. So
right, exactly. And when it comes to like walk-ins, the reason why we don't want to like announce it if we're doing that or not is because of prep. A lot of people, they think like we can just like open up more spaces, and like it's because like everything that we do when it comes to pop-up is so particular to details, how much we batch, how much we order, and that taking that all into consideration is what we're looking at.
Maybe talk a little bit about that for people that don't really realize what exactly tiki drinks are, because they're thinking like a Mai Tai you get at Applebee's. Like how different, if somebody hasn't been to like a true authentic like tiki bar, like what does it mean? Like what's the difference with these pop-ups? Like when you talk about like the batching and all of that stuff.
With pop-ups are hard. Oh my God. They are not as like as easy as people might think there is, because it's a one night thing, and it's like whatever. I mean, I'm sure it's fun. Like the high of it, like sorry, had to burp. Yes. I'm just a girl. I'm joking. But okay, so when it comes to pop-ups, I think they're really, really hard because not only are you like doing your own marketing, at least we do. I don't know, a lot of small pop-ups do as well, but like you're also talking to the staff that they have and teaching them like how the night's gonna go, what the cocktails are like,
because these are drinks that they've never served before.
Yep. Right? So I've worked in different scenarios where we've had to train the whole entire staff on how to describe these cocktails, and just I would say that the POS system is like the hardest thing, because like I've worked at this point with like over 10 POS systems probably, because every establishment is different and they have
for non-restaurant people, that is the cashier, like the little register thing.
The point of sale.
Point of sale. We're not calling it names.
I'm like the POS. So yeah, the POS system, like learning that, it's like already like triggering. Like I've had pop-ups where I'm like, oh my God.
Because it's not like you get training like when you work at a new restaurant. You're like, this is where we ring in the extra this. This is where we do an extra shot. This is where the like these drinks are.
Yeah, like I don't think people understand. Like I feel so bad sometimes if we have a pop-up where people have to walk to the bar to order, and I'm the one taking the order. I'm like, shit. Like, how do you go back? And I'm like,
I think I just rang them out.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I closed them on the wrong card. Oh shit! Like, wait, where is that one button that makes you like open the tab, like keep the tab open, or whatever that shit is? The POS system, like, you're learning everything in one day, basically. And not only that, I think it's like you're learning how to like also work with all types of characters. And I think that's the hardest thing. Like you don't really get to really know behind the scenes. Like, I'm trying to accommodate everybody's like, patience and like what they need from me, what I need from them, gauging everybody's energy. It can be draining. But I've worked with, at this point, like over 200 people probably. I've been behind 20 bars doing pop-ups, all different types of and I'm very grateful for that experience, because it's made me a better bartender, a better leader person, and to because like, you really get to like understand how to like be kinder and be more like my communication style changes every time depending on the person, right? But yeah, pop-ups are hard. When it comes to the cocktails, with the pop-ups.
Because if anybody doesn't know, like, this is like fresh pressed juice. You are hand making your
Yes.
syrups. Like, this isn't just like you go out and buy something at the store.
Right. We are definitely like taking, I mean, I have a small staff that helps me out with pop-ups. Eric Jones, Nancy, and they really like, you know, they kill it every time I need help with prep or anything. They're always there for me. So, you know, we're going there 2 days before and juicing, doing syrups. I'm doing the ordering list, you know, making sure that we have enough cocktails for however many people we think might show up, or the reservation list. And that's a lot of math that I'm not good at.
We're in the industry
happens.
because we don't want to do math.
Yeah.
But
And
yet somehow we're doing it.
exactly. Oh my God, that part. that part. I'm like,
I always make jokes like when I'm waiting on tables of like, I don't do math. That's what the computer does for me. And then I was like, wait, hold on. I actually do math.
that part. But yeah, no, I've been fortunate to work with Eric, who has helped me a lot with math
Math.
in general. You know, and that's not my expertise, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of math. There's a lot of like organization and a lot of communication that you have to give to the vendors, the people that you're working with that night. But when it comes to the event itself, it's so beautiful. It's so, I know it sounds really stressful at the beginning, and it really, it kind of is, but that's like the fun part almost, like it's like a high, right? It's like an adrenaline rush. You're like, you're doing an event. It feels so fucking good. Like we're doing this. We're throwing a party. And I think the event itself is like the most wonderful part, because you get to see all these people that you've seen at so many pop-ups, or new people who have never been but they've heard. And one of the most magical parts about the pop-ups itself is when I have Bolivian people specifically come to the pop-ups and, you know, ask like, you know, I heard you're from Bolivia. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh my God, like from what part? And I'm like, La Paz. And have that connection, because like representation really matters. And when people hear that you're from somewhere that, you know, reminds them of home, it's so beautiful. And then I'm like, hey, you know, like table 2 over there, they're actually from Bolivia too. And then they're like, what? They're from Bolivia? I'm like, yeah. And then I get them to connect and become friends. And like, there's not many Bolivians in Kansas City. So
It's part of what you said, that you're wanting to foster that community and create the experience.
Right.
Rather than just like, oh, it's just like, this is just for fun. Like, no, it's like, I'm trying to make it all about this encompassing.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that like I really love about the pop-ups. It's like the community aspect of it is what's really important. You know, cocktails are fun. Getting like weird and drunk is fun and fun. But I think like when you get to meet really like meaningful, when you have like meaningful conversations and connections with people, I think that's what really matters. And when I get to introduce people to each other, you know, it's so cool to see them come back to the next pop-up together.
Yeah.
Because now they're friends.
Yeah.
And I've had people, you know, meet their significant others at pop-ups. And now they're engaged.
Oh my gosh. They better
that-
talk about you at the wedding toast.
They're like, we're hiring you for the
Even better.
You know, I'm like, that's fine. But it's so beautiful for me to just to experience those relationships with people. Sometimes I could be probably like not as talkative at pop-ups because I'm like going 100 miles an hour trying to make
Zoned
sure,
in.
yeah, that everything is well. But yeah, I think that's what really like drives me to do the pop-ups. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. So let's circle back around and talk about the business itself. Thinking where you are right now, what advice would you as your present self give you when you were first starting out, when all of that stuff was crazy? We're in a worldwide pandemic and you're like, oh, I think I could do this.
Yeah. I would say definitely ask for help. And because you can't do it all. And that's one lesson I've learned throughout my time doing this. You know, I never really was a person to ask for help, because it's not because of ego or anything. It's because like I think as a Latina, as where we come from, like the trauma like of our parents, you know, that just working, like they don't they feel shame to ask for help.
Yeah.
They'd rather just do it themselves. And like I think it's more of like that trauma kind of lingers in our generation sometimes with immigrant kids. Like we have to work hard, look down, and not ask, any stupid questions, and just be a yes man, basically.
Yeah.
To our bosses. And I think that kind of affected me in the role of owning a business, because I just thought I could do it all. And it got to the point where it's too much, and it's like at the very first year, it was a lot, and I was stressed out. I was very depressed with Condors, and because it was when we were doing pop-ups like every month the first year, and I didn't ask for help, and I think that was like the downfall of like stress, depression, and that's where like substance abuse comes in, right?
Yeah.
Or, like drinking. And I'm very honest with that because I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the ugly. They talk about the cool stuff, but they don't talk about the ugly, the mental health that comes with all this stress, with being a bartender, long nights, and being in the service industry. So I think if I had help, I probably would have been a little bit in a better mental state. But I think I would tell myself to ask for help from people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because support is very important, and I don't quite think I had the support, not because people didn't want to, but because I pushed them away in the sense of like I was saying, like just from my family, like don't ask for help, just do it yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think that was too like a big thing when you're becoming an entrepreneur in a business. It's like that was the big time of hustle culture. So you're like, just put your nose down, grind, like you can do this. It's all about willpower. And it's like, it was almost seen as like you weren't as strong if you asked for help.
Yeah.
But like, why not ask other people around you? Like, even if it wasn't business related, of like, hey,
just like having support is so important.
Yeah.
Community, right?
Yep.
I think one of the biggest reasons why I loved San Francisco so much too at the time when I was living there was the community, the service industry community, and like just like my roommates. They were not from the hospitality industry. They were techies, artists, whatever. But it was the community aspect of like, hey, I've noticed you haven't been, waking up at like 10 a.m. I haven't seen you, like how are you doing? Like checking in on your friends, making sure like how's work, and having that community in San Francisco really helped me get in a better headspace. So when I came back to Kansas City, I definitely feel like, okay, I'm better mentally to like really move on to the chapter that I want to partake here in Kansas City with Condors. And everything. Yeah.
Love that. All right, so let's go and talk back about Tiki culture, because I kind of wanted to get in that. So we talked a little bit about that. It's definitely the Americanized version of Polynesian culture. And it started all the way back in the 1930s. I kind of did like a little bit of a deep dive for any of those who don't really know about it. And then, of course, with World War II, that also brought a lot of the Pacific Islands that people they were interested in that. However, I feel like at this point we have gotten into, as you said, kind of like cringy, whitewashed a lot of that. We'll call people out. So because you're from Bolivia and you really bring that into your mission statement, you kind of talked a little bit that's not similar to Polynesian culture. You're landlocked, correct? In Bolivia. So you don't have that island. How else, is there any similarities between your two? I mean, besides, as you said, the ingredients, was there anything else that tied Bolivia and kind of that Tiki culture together that you bring together?
Yeah, I would say for example, for me was the first time I ever walked into Tiki Cat was I was invited by a friend, Mandy. It was Mandy. Before I started working there. She was like, hey, we're hiring. You should come check it out. And I was like, okay, I'll come check it out. And I went down to Tiki Cat. And when I opened that door, just the air, like it was the smell of tropical fruits, the such like welcoming environment, which Latinos are very like lovable and welcome. They're like, "Hola, papi, cómo estás?" Like, "Hola,
Yep.
mami," and it was like that. It was that vibe from the whole entire staff.
It felt like a hug when you were down there.
Yes, and like the minute you walked in, I don't know if it was like the air hugging you.
I mean, as
it
we
kinda
said, we
felt
were in
like
the
that.
basement, so
Yeah, it kind of felt like
it was
that.
either a hug or claustrophobic, whatever.
Yeah, either one. But
It
yeah,
felt tropical because it was in the basement and it was wet.
exactly. Yeah. It really was. And like the smell of mint and like fresh orange juice and nutmeg. It just felt like you were entering a portal to like a Caribbean country.
I did feel like Tiki Cat
Not
did it
specifically-
pretty well.
Yeah, because I honestly didn't know about Tiki
Yeah.
until I started working at Tiki Cat.
Oh, okay.
But I remember walking in and hearing Buena Vista Social Club, which is a Cuban band. If you don't know, check them out. And to hear Buena Vista in a bar in Kansas City, that was like, whoa. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, how do they know about Buena Vista? And I was like, Mandy, this song. And she was like, what about it? Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a
this
great
song
song.
is Buena Vista Social Club. Like, as a Latino, like, or people like some persons like from other cultures, like when you hear something that you can relate to, it's so like powerful. It's like, oh my God, I feel welcome, I feel
Yes.
seen, I feel like, wow, like these people know.
Like when you would run into somebody from Kansas City when you're out traveling. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Or like I guess for sports fans,
Or for
it's-
you, Bolivia.
it's like, yeah, I guess for like people that like sports, like they see somebody with a Chiefs jersey, they're like, oh, you know about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You
I guess
know?
now it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, but when they're like out traveling,
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, Chiefs. I guess it's like kind of same feeling, but culture is very important to people because it's where we come from, and yeah, so like that was like my first introduction to like, oh my God, like this is Tiki, and then but then I realized that there was like so many other elements that I was just like not really down for, like the sexualization of the Hawaiian woman, taking names from gods that are not particularly part of our cultures. So there's problematic parts that I slowly started like learning about, that I was like, well, I can do it my own way.
Yeah.
And that's where like Condor's Cove came in, when it came to like, how can I like make it different from Tiki, like I guess like classic Tiki.
Yes.
Because we're still a Tiki inspired cocktail pop-up, but the drinks is more what's like Tiki, not so much the decor.
Yeah.
We do have mugs every once in a while, but the music that we play is like Latino or cumbia, or sometimes it's whatever the theme is inspired by, which classic Tiki bars would never do that. They would play like exotica music
Yeah.
or a specific type of music. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say that's what.
Obviously, you don't speak for Polynesians because you were Bolivian, but where do you think the line between enjoying Tiki culture is and cultural appropriation, beyond what we just talked about of the sexualization of the Hawaiian woman and the gods? Is there anything else that you think you're like,
Yeah, like I would say like when I just see like naked Hawaiian women in bars.
you're like, what does that have to do with
Like,
cocktails?
Exactly. Like they just took something that they just heard or saw and like, that's Tiki, like Hawaiian woman, Polynesian people.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's not your culture.
Yeah.
And it's like, it would be one thing if you do your homework and you include people from those cultures to be advocates of your bar or whatever event you're trying to do. But when you're just taking somebody's culture and showcasing the woman from their country or whatever it is, and you're sexualizing them, that's my ick. I hate that. And then I also just like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's my main one. Like,
we'll
woman,
leave it
'cause
there.
yeah. Yeah.
So obviously you've got your event coming up on Halloween. You have not announced anything else, but can we expect any more events before the end of the year?
Yeah, we have an event coming up at Fern Bar. It's the bar that I work at.
And it's super cool.
Currently. It's an agave sugarcane focused cocktail bar. So we are in the works of doing a December pop-up there. It's going to be very like rum educated, forward, having a tasting before the event if you're into that, and then staying for the pop-up itself. And then maybe some other fun little holiday pop-ups. I do have to advertise this, so I forgot about this.
Yes.
I'm doing my annual coquito. Every year I do it. Well, the past 2 years, I guess.
I'm white. I'm so sorry. What is that?
Coquito is it's a traditional Puerto Rican cocktail.
Ooh.
It's passed down from family generations, and every generation has their own different take on how to like make their own. So it's usually coconut milk, condensed milk, rum, spices, a little bit of like a tea. If you say, like, I use tea, and, it's just like a creamy, I would say a better eggnog.
Oh yeah.
Opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I have seen that. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to pronounce it, to be honest.
It's not as thick as eggnog would be. So I would say like that's the difference. But yeah, I'll be doing that this year again. So keep an eye on our social media for orders.
Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead and drop your socials. How can we find you?
Oh yeah. Our Instagram is condorscove.kc.
Awesome. And then would you say that's the preferential? Do you make most of your announcements on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. We don't really have a website. We used to, but
Your pop-ups. Yeah.
I'm busy. I'm sorry.
And social media is free.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And lastly, is beyond following you on socials, is there anything that beyond and buying your cocktail, how else can we support you?
Me? I'm supported by you guys coming to the pop-ups. I mean, that's really it. I would say, if anything, if you want to support everything that's going on in the world more. If you want to put your money somewhere, support.
We're like, how can we support you? Support the world. All right. Well, you're very selfless, and now.
Yeah, like the pop-ups are fun, and that's where I keep it. Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. Diana, thank you so much for coming on.
I was such a nervous wreck. So.
She was not. Obviously, go follow her on her socials. And of course, please share the episode so she gets love, we get love. We love you all. Make sure you like the episode, follow, subscribe, do all of that so that way we can still keep making episodes for you. And come see Diana at her next couple pop-ups. So, all right. See you later, Casey.